Good evening. I'll now call to order the Newton County Board of Commissioners work session, March 3rd, 2026. I'll ask Commissioner Edwards if he would lead us in the pledge, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now I'll turn the meeting over to our County Manager, Mr. James Brown.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. We would like to actually turn this over to Stephanie. She's going to have a presentation to kind of go over the updated UDO amendments that's proposed to the board.
Okay, good evening, Commissioners. So, as you know, we have a moratorium in place right now for applications and developments of convenience stores and data centers, so that the county has time to consider its ordinances for these types of developments. So, so far, the county attorney's office has been working with development services to draft those ordinance changes, and so we have circulated already our draft of the ordinance pertaining to convenience stores, and then we're also in the early stages of the draft for the development of data centers. So what I'm going to do today is go through the old ordinance, the new ordinance that we're proposing, and then for the data center, since we're still in the early phases of that draft, I'm just going to give you a higher level overview and some of the language that we have drafted already pertaining to that. So. All right, so the current ordinance regarding convenience stores, the use standards for convenience stores, which this includes convenience stores with gasoline pumps and convenience stores without gasoline pumps, it's addressed in section 510-200 of the UDO. And so generally this ordinance, it addresses lighting, screening, and size, but it does not address placement of convenience stores, including distance. So this is the language from the current ordinance. Again, as I mentioned, it addresses lighting. It also addresses screening, so an 8-foot high visual barrier screen, and then it also addresses the size of the leasable floor space for the convenience center. So the proposed ordinance that we're proposing for convenience stores, it provides some of the additional restrictions that the board has requested, including distance between convenience store locations and their situation at intersections. So it also provides some clarification on lighting, screening, and size limitations, and has appropriate headings for all subsections and a new purpose section. So we'll step through each of the new sections for the proposed convenience store ordinance. All right, so as I mentioned, there's a new purpose section that explains the purpose and intent of the Board of Commissioners in regulating convenience stores, including to promote health, safety, and welfare by mitigating potential impacts of convenience stores, such as traffic congestion, increased crime, and adverse effects on residential areas. So the next section, section B, is on outdoor lighting. So again, the previous convenience store ordinance did have a section on lighting. This one provides some more specifics on where those standards are coming from and exactly what they have to be. So you'll see what's underlined is the additional language on lighting standards, and it refers back to another section of the UDO. So the next section, again, screening was also previously addressed within the ordinance, but it provides some clarification on the type of visual screening. It delineates that it either has to be an opaque screen of a certain height, or it can be a combination of fencing and evergreen vegetation of a certain height that has a certain level of opacity. Again, the 8 feet height was in the prior UDO language, and the 95% opacity was also in the prior UDO language. So the next section is on size limitations. Again, this is also holdover from the prior ordinance language, but it clarifies what the 5,000 square foot limitation is. So some convenience store sites, they have a convenience store, but then they also have like other suites that are connected to that. So this language just clarifies that the 5,000 square foot minimum is for the convenience store itself and does not apply to those adjoining suites. All right, so the next is separation requirements. So this is an entirely new section, again, to address concerns of how convenience stores have been situated in the county, often being too close together. So the first section under letter E is that no convenience store with or without gasoline pumps shall be located within 2 miles of another convenience store with or without gasoline pumps. And it gives it, how that's measured, essentially from property line to property line with some specifics. And then you have the next section, notwithstanding that distance limitation, you can have multiple convenience stores on a corner, but the maximum of that is 2. And the way they have to be situated is they can't be essentially adjacent. So that would be if you're looking at, if it's in one corner, it has to be at the diagonal corner is where it would be. All right, so that's it for the convenience store ordinance changes. I believe we'll have discussion after the end of the presentation and any questions. So moving on to data centers. So that's the other section of the UDO that's under consideration for revision presently, apart from the broader revisions to the UDO. So the current UDO does not address data centers or provide really any guidance or standards for data centers except within the Stanton Springs Business Park District. So the intent, and I'll just go ahead and move to the next slide. So the intent of the proposed ordinance as it relates to data centers, the goal is to create an entirely new section of use standards in section 510.205 that would address the development of data centers and the concerns that have been raised, including minimum lot size, distance from residential areas, buffers, situation to public infrastructure, noise, and assessment of strain on utilities. So what I have in the next slides is just some broader, higher level standards that I know that are in the draft that Development Services has prepared, but we're still reviewing this. So it's by no means, our final submission to the board for consideration, but we also wanted to let you know where we are and some of the things that we've already included. All right, so again, regarding the proposed ordinance, some of the terms and standards that we have in there, a lot size of at least 300 acres in area, a use of a data center being at least 1,000 feet from any residential district or residential use, specific buffer yard that is 100 feet in width that complies with another section of the UDO, specifically as it relates to property lines that do not abut a street. We've got some provisions on location, again, specifically location related to public infrastructure. So data centers shall be located within 1,000 feet of existing adequate public infrastructure. And, those things go for electricity, water, wastewater, fiber optic. There's provisions relating to disposal of electronic waste, making sure that those are handled appropriately. There's noise restrictions. So the restriction status here is from, 8 to 5, essentially 8 to 5 p.m., that it would be at 60 decibels, and then from 5 p.m. to 8 a.m., it would be at 50 decibels. So some of the other provisions that are in the working draft that we have right now is assessment of what the utilities strain would be. So the applicant would provide written verification from utility providers, showing that they've calculated the consumption that's going to be caused by the data center and verified that they do have equipment and infrastructure that's sufficiently sized to handle it. There are additional provisions in the draft. I haven't included them here. That doesn't necessarily mean the project would be shut down. They may have to contribute funds to be able to, increase the infrastructure necessary for the data center. But there are provisions related to that. Vibration, similar to noise, that's something that's restricted, that it's not to be perceptible beyond the property line. And then, obviously additional ways to ensure that the vibration isn't something that's supposed to be felt. Heat is another consideration in terms of that not affecting surrounding areas. So, the provision ensures that the design and operation of the facility shall prevent, heat from affecting adjoining properties or public rights of way, and how, any heat or exhaust should be vented to ensure that. So some other, and I believe this is my last slide before questions. So obviously water use, the ordinance describes, what the appropriate water use should be, that facilities using water-based cooling systems shall incorporate water-efficient cooling technology such as closed loop or air-cooled systems where feasible, and specifically prohibits evaporative cooling. There's additional language on setbacks. So if a building is adjacent to a residential district or public open space, how far back that has to be, and incorporating landscape or berms to visually screen the facility. And then the maximum height currently is set for any buildings on the property at 75 feet. So again, this is just the high level. This is not comprehensive of everything that's included in the draft to date. There's other provisions on reporting requirements for use, building and site design standards, monitoring of what the use is for certain utilities, building placement and orientation, parking, retention of natural areas, on-site stormwater facilities, building materials, location of equipment, and lighting. So there's a lot that we're working on in terms of making sure that the ordinance is comprehensive and addresses public's concerns and the board's concerns as well. So I'm able to answer any questions, and then we also have representatives from Development Services here as well that are able to answer any questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, first on the convenience centers, because that's where we kind of ended. I'm sorry, not the convenience centers, the data centers. I didn't, I may have not been paying close enough attention. I didn't see anything on the lighting, or did I?
So there are lighting restrictions, but I just didn't include those in the presentation.
So that's something we want included, and then the non-air cooled or evaporative cooling systems. So that includes what we call gray water use, right? I mean the reuse of water.
Maybe David, would you want to respond to that question? You can come up, please.
I think I can take that one for you. No, that's what that is the type of cooling system that is operating 24/7 through the facility. So you have evaporating cooling, closed loop cooling. So the closed loop cooling is the one that's more water, less intensive versus the evaporating cooling. So one of the requirements that we would do is for the closed loop system, so that would reduce their dependence on water.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And can you go back to the convenience center slides, please?
Yes.
I think it was probably the last one, having to do with distance between the convenience centers.
Yes.
All right. So within 2 miles, right, is what we're talking about generally, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you can't have one within 2 miles of the other, how would there be two on a four-way stop at a four-way?
So it's an exception. So that's
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
So the E2 would be an exception to the general rule that you can't have more than two. You can't have stores within 2 miles of one another.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Long.
Thank you. I know that you guys got some emails from me this afternoon. I've been working on this quite some time this afternoon. I do see quite a few things missing from this ordinance that I did send. I think it was like 4 pages of things I sent for us to look at. I did look at some other counties and their ordinances. I did run it through my AI programs that I have to see what we're missing. I think, and then I have sent it out for 2 or 3 people that I work closely with on these type things to just give us some feedback. I think the best things come from other people's ideas, and I like to hear from people's ideas. So I think one of the things several of the quick things that I am concerned about would be how do we enforce and maintain these buffers? We have the overlays in our county. We have all kinds of buffers on tops of buildings, and everything is dead. So I want to see us make sure that we have something in these ordinances, both of these ordinances, that anything that's in the perimeter that's put out there, the 95% for the fencing and everything, that there has to be some type of, I don't know if we do a 12-month bond to make sure that the plants don't die the minute they put them in the ground, which has happened, and then maintain the fencing. We have a big problem right now with some of the other stores that we have that have not maintained our ordinance as far as our landscaping requirements and our lighting requirements, and we have to have these written where we can enforce them also. I guess that's what I'm saying better. And then you know, I believe that the entire building suite should be 5,000 square feet, because people will come in and build a 5,000 square foot convenience store, and then they will have 2 anchors on each side of it that are probably another 2,000 square feet. So I believe that we should have in the ordinance that the whole entire building should be no more than 5,000 square feet. And then if we want to address travel centers or something in a separate ordinance or add that on, then we can address that. Also, I want to address that if it is a travel center or something larger than that, then it only allows 1 per intersection. So we may have to have a whole other ordinance on larger travel centers, like, you know, who knows, we may get a Buc-ee's next. So we don't need a Buc-ee's and 4 other gas stations. We also have to address what is already there and how this affects what is already on the ground. If we have 3 in an intersection, they say, well, this is a new ordinance, all 3 were already here, I would be the only one next. So we have to address the previous buildings that are out there already, because then we'll have 5 on every corner, you know, and behind the corner, you know. The other thing that I thought was real important that we do is we make sure that we have something in this ordinance that if someone gets a zoning or takes out a building permit, I know that we have this in other areas of our UDO, and we're working on this too. We have a loophole right now that if they get zoned and they go take a building permit, a disturbance permit, and then they never come back for another 2 years, which is like what is going on out on Highway 11, then they still have that land zoned. We need to have some kind of thing where if they do not build or break ground or take a disturbance permit, that these resort back to the prior zoning. Because they just can't sit out there forever. Things change, times change, areas change, and just because you got it zoned 10 years ago doesn't mean you can still have what you want out there. So that has to be addressed in there. And then I know, Stephanie, I sent you the other 4 pages that I did today and just kind of outlined, and I know that sounds like a lot, but I just want to make sure that one of the things I think that we need to do a better job of is make sure when we put an ordinance in that it has teeth in the ordinance, that we can enforce it or somebody can enforce it. And also it is ironclad if someone tries to come after us for the ordinance. So I think that's some of the things that I want to see added to it. And same with the data centers. I have a lot of information for you on that. Been doing a lot of studying and a lot of information on these data centers since they have become such a, I don't know, it's kind of dying down now, I guess, because the state's addressing it, but we still need to have ours. And a lot of people don't understand why we need an ordinance for data centers, because we don't have it now, but we do need to have it. So if we are approached or there comes another annexation or something like that, I feel like that we need to have something written for these. So I've been asked that question a lot.
Commissioner Mason, I think you had a question, and then Commissioner Edwards, I believe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question was in regards to the data centers. We talked about the UDO expressing the separation, being 1,000 feet from a residential area. Mm-hmm. And so I guess what my question is now, are there any, or have we even done our research to figure out if there are currently any areas right now that we have that are available, that are undeveloped land that is that would be less than 1,000 feet of a residential area. Does that make sense of what my question is?
I believe so. You're asking in the context of a parcel that could be developed as a data center.
That's correct.
Okay. I don't know the answer to
Okay.
that question, but I don't know if anyone in development services might.
Yeah. That would be something I think I would really love for development services to look into to see if we currently have any undeveloped land that could potentially be developed that's less than this 1,000 feet. To make sure that this 1,000 feet from residential is an accurate number, because it may need to be 2,000 feet or it may need to be 5,000 feet. So just to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that that 1,000 feet is something that is the best for our residential areas. And I know we talked about these were going to be just the high level and not getting into the detailed context of the UDO. I know I had previously talked about there was some regulations that I would love to see put in place for any potential future data centers if they do come. And I don't, they're not stated here in the presentation. So I don't know if that's just something to say, for example, if we received an application and it was presented, we can at that point go through and say, hey, I want you to have, this type of filtration system, or I want you to have, this type of cooling system, or I want you to have, so that whole detailed system, I don't know if we address that in the UDO or if we just wait until we're presented with application to provide what those specific regulations that we would like to see. And then lastly, and I don't know if this will even be appropriate or not in regards to the data centers, I know we have established Stanton Springs, which is a designated industrial area. So I don't know if it would even be necessary for us to, based off of all of the other guidelines that we have, if it would be a good idea to say, hey, maybe this is where we would want them if they did come.
Right.
And
yeah.
I don't know if that's even legally possible.
Well, I think there is some, and you can correct, someone from development centers services can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the idea is to structure it kind of twofold in terms of creating like a new technology center district.
Okay.
And then also having a separate like use standards. But we haven't really worked out how that interplay is going to work yet. But yes, that is something that we're considering.
Excelente. That makes sense. Also with the convenience centers, how we were just talking about the distance, is that only gonna, well, and I'm sure I probably know the answer to my question, that would only be for any new applications, not for current.
Yes.
Okay. Because we couldn't say, hey, we now have this in the UDO and there's 4 of you on this corner, so you all got to spread out.
Yeah.
So y'all got to go find somewhere else to build. So it'll really just be for new applications.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think that was all I had. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I wanted to elaborate on what Commissioner Long had mentioned, and I agree with her that and it's not necessarily it doesn't necessarily have to do with what we're talking about, data centers or convenience stores at this very moment. But about 3 years ago, I guess it was, I mentioned to Patrick, I asked him, could we put something in place to where when we approved zoning and it was not acted upon, if dirt was not turned within 18 months, that zoning reverts back to his previous zoning. And he said, by law, that's not possible. But What we could do was we could set up a system to where we review those properties at 18 months or 2 years or whatever it is, and if we determine that it hasn't made suitable progress, pending what law our legal would counsel, how they would counsel us, and we could have another vote to move that zoning back to what it used to be. So, and this came up because what we see is these grand plans. These landowners have property, they have potential buyers, and the buyers present this grand development. We zone the property for that development, and it sits 2 years and nothing happens, and it's an absolute blight on the community. The piece of property is. So that's how we got to that place, and it just, I agree with Commissioner Long that we need a mechanism in place that reminds us of these properties, and that we can go back if it's just a calendar reminder. I mean, 24 or 18 months from now, we look back at this piece of property. If nothing's happening, we have a vote to move its zoning back or leave it where it is. So that's kind of where we are, and because we get sold on. I get excited about what I see on a development, and I'm like, hey, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be great to have that. And then it's sold again. The property's sold twice after the zoning takes place, and they want to put something that's not as desirable as the original. And we've zoned it based on the original plan. So that's kind of where that's coming from. So I'd like to look at how we reverse that trend or change that anyway. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Cooper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To piggyback off of Commissioner Long and Commissioner Edward on the C-stores, and it's happening, especially in the district over there. We got the gas station popping up. 3 years later, I would like to see something put in place so we can maybe, I don't know if we can do it under conditional use, make sure that they come back before us if they hadn't established any building or construction at that time, come back before the board. And I know of certain instances that it never made it to the Board of Commissioners and it went to the planning. So I would like to see maybe condition use, so that way it's actually come before the board. And that way we can determine whether or not it's something needed for the district, because in District 3, it's totally different than Commissioner Edwards' district. So we don't need, I'm sure we don't need it in District 3, but he may need it in District 1. So I think I would like to see something on a conditional use where we can come before this board and decide whether or not we need it or we can move forward on it. Thank you.
Commissioner Long.
I think you're saying you don't want it to be automatic based on the zoning. You want it to have a special use permit or conditional use permit to, and that's the same thing on the data centers. It shouldn't be just automatic that it gets to go there, that there has to be provisions and, and approved plans and things like that. And instead of just all of a sudden it's commercial, you can stick a gas station here. Some of the other things that I sent to Stephanie and our county manager today was we've got to address the non-conforming statuses of these that are not located within 2 miles. How that addresses reconstruction after damage or if it's torn down. We need to address that too. The other things I have is, if the property is burned down or torn down or something, it's not reestablished in a certain time period, then it is subject to the new requirements, because people might want to remodel. We've had a couple of them come in here and want to change it into something else. I know Commissioner Mason did a good job of somebody that was applying for another gas station, and he was able to repurpose the site. So something like that too. And then the redevelopment or expansion of a non-conforming store, that's a store that was already grandfathered in. If they go and change it, what does that do to our ordinances there? So we have to address those, and I sent you a lot of bullet points on that. Not that you probably couldn't find them too, but anyway, I think that I'm trying to think of everything that will come up. I have learned in my years of being in real estate that people come up with loopholes, that developers come up with, oh, well, you forgot that you did add this, so I can skate around this. So I'm just trying to look at everything to make sure that we're building a good community of what the people in this community want and want it to look like, and not being forced. And I think this board's done an outstanding job in the last 14 months of not being forced upon projects and just saying, oh, we have to do it, sorry, too bad. I want to make sure that we have some skin in the game and we have some teeth in our ordinance that we can enforce. And that's real important to me on any of these things, and especially in all this UDO, is to make sure that we have that information. To be able to, because if you say, oh yes, you got to have plants and they got to be 95% of the property, and they all die within the first 6 months. I've asked that question to our planning and zoning department. They're like, well, I'm not really sure. I know that they're supposed to have them, but they were there and they died. Okay, well they died. They should have to put them back. So, and how do we enforce that? So that's something too that I have in those notes that I sent you guys. And that's it.
Commissioner Cooper?
On this UDO, are we still utilizing the committee to assist with the UDO?
Yes, yes, we do.
I don't have anything additional.
Any more discussion? Oh, Commissioner Long.
Also, the data centers, I feel like there's a lot more that we need to do on those, and we do have to balance, having standards and having, what we want these to be. If we continue to see these applications, I mean, I'm not trying to dissolve any kind of economic growth that we would have from them, but I think they have to be in the right place and they have to be put. Everybody thinks I'm anti-growth. I'm not anti-growth. We have to have growth. We have to have things, and we want to make sure that it's protecting the citizens and their well water and all the things that we're hearing about from other projects that have just come on with no citizen input. So I just want to make sure that we're making sure that we're not missing anything. We're looking at as many counties as we possibly can to see what they're putting in theirs, and then also going out to other states and seeing what they've experienced with these particular programs. And I just want to make sure that, right now we've got a 2-page data center ordinance. I don't think 2 pages is enough. I think our decimals are too high compared to other places. We learned a lot from Virginia of some of the mistakes they made in Spalding County, also here in Georgia. So I've talked about these over and over and again. I just want to make sure they're not left out. And that's real important, especially me, since I'm the data center person.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll take a motion now to adjourn. Second? All in favor? Okay, we are adjourned until 7 o'clock. Thank you. I now call to order the Newton County Board of Commissioners meeting, March 3rd, 2026. I'd like to ask Commissioner Mason, would you do our invocation? Commissioner Edwards would do our Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let us all bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us back to this place of business one more time. We ask that as we move forward to do the business of Newton County, that you would give us clarity, God, and you would make things clear to us so that we can make the best decisions for this community. We ask that you continue to look over the board, look over our community, continue to bless us in every area, God, so that we can continue to grow and be all that you've desired for this county to be. And we give you all the kingdom, honor, and the glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we adopt the agenda, we have 3 agenda amendments. Item 13 has been taken off the agenda. Added is 13A, and that is a resolution by Newton County Board of Commissioners revising an emergency moratorium on acceptance of applications, requests, or submissions that propose the development of data centers. Item 13B is a resolution of Newton County Board of Commissioners revising an emergency moratorium on acceptance of applications, requests, or submissions that propose the development of convenience stores. Could I have a motion to amend the budget?
So moved.
I'm sorry, I've got budget on my mind. We've been working on budget. To amend the agenda.
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Now, I need a motion to, with the amendments, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So
With
moved.
Second? All in favor? Okay, thank you. We'll go to item number 4, that's public comments. This time is to allow the public to comment, voice concerns, or opinions regarding agenda topics only. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes.
Dennis Taylor, Ellington Road. The new 13s you put on there is the reason I'm up to speak. I certainly support those. But the one that concerns me is number 10. I know this was way in the past before most of y'all was on the board. We got a new tax commissioner, and they're doing a great job in that tax office. I went in there not too long ago, in and out. But why didn't we collect these taxes? 2014 to 2018. Well, most everybody else in the county going down there paying their taxes, paying late charges when they're late. And I hope this new tax commissioner collect them a little sooner. I don't understand how we couldn't collect for those 4 years. Thank you.
Good evening, John Clemens, Covington, Georgia, 152 Deep Step Road. I also would have questions about item number 10. I'm hoping that you all will address this somehow, either this evening or something. I would like for my taxes to be uncollectible and not anybody question what happened with them, but I don't think that's going to happen. And this makes no sense. How does it become uncollectible? Did the property go away? Did the people go away? There's some good questions here, and I think somebody needs to answer some questions there. Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. I would like to address item number 14. You're considering a building proposal from Sunbelt Builders Incorporated. It is brought to my attention that we do have a clause in there that they need to perform in a timely manner. However, our project manager in October or 1st of November indicated that the Senior Citizen Center out at Denny Dobbs would be open and functioning at the end of December and January. It's now March, and they're still working on that project. I think it's about time we invoke that clause in the contract of them delivering on a timely manner. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we'll close the public comments. Go to new business, item number 8, consideration of I'm sorry, I skipped over the consent agenda. We have a rather long agenda tonight, rather long meeting, so we're going to try to move along a little bit faster. Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to new business. Item number 8, consideration of CSRA Probation Services, Inc. Contract renewal for probation services, Newton County Magistrate Court. That would go from January to December 2026. Could I have a motion on that? Second? Any discussion? Okay.
So, okay, I motioned this so, and hope for a second so we could discuss it. So what, is there any explanation for this? Is there anybody here can talk to about this?
Yes, we do have someone here.
For 8 and 9, as a matter of
Yes.
fact, 8 and 9.
8 and 9. Come on up. Thank you. Hi.
Hi. My name is Sandy Lanier. I'm the regional director for CSRA, and I was asked to just come and represent our company. Our CEO of the company sent a letter. I don't know if y'all have that letter, but the contracts have been submitted. I believe Chief Judge Melanie Bell has signed it, and so we're just here asking that those contracts be renewed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this, you guys contract for probation services for our courts, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Commissioner Long?
I think my question is, because the sheet was not filled out properly, and we got to make sure that we get all this information from people. Is this a budgeted item? It said January 1st, and we're at March 3rd now. So what is this?
These are the magistrate and the probate contracts, and we submitted them to the judge way prior to, I think it was in September of 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And they just got signed by Judge Bell and placed on the Board of Commissioners to be approved.
But this has a maximum of a 4-year annual renewals. I don't like anything that's on an automatic 4-year annual renewal. So is this a budgeted item? Maybe the county manager, and so why can't they fill out these sheets right, whether it says it's budgeted or not budgeted?
That information for item number 8 is in your packet. It's page 6 through 10.
I'm looking at it.
And item 9, pages 11 through 15
I'm looking at
in
them.
your packet.
Yeah, I'm looking at them. I looked over them, but some of the questions are, is it budgeted? Yes or no? Nobody checked it. Are the additional funds are required? Nobody checked that. So that's the questions I'm asking.
We're a private probation company, so the county doesn't pay us anything. We're providing a service, and it's paid by the offender. So there's nothing for the county to,
Okay, that's the question we're asking, yeah.
yes, ma'am.
And is that normal to have a 4-year renewal period?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay.
Is there any more discussion? Do we have a motion on item number 8?
We got a motion and a second.
In second, okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, we'll go to item number 9. Do we have a motion on that?
So moved.
Second? Any discussion? Commissioner Edwards?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this would fall under the same purview, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
It's a commission-based deal and no money from the county is required.
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. May I be excused?
Thank you very much. Item number 10, consideration of insolvency list, removal of properties from the tax digest for tax years 2014 through 2018 as they are deemed uncollectible.
All right. Are they going to read it out, James, or? I'm sorry? Okay, go ahead. All right. Good evening, board. Good evening, Madam Chair. I'm here because, as you guys know, I'm newly elected last year, 2024. I took office in 2025, right? So what we have here is we actually have an ordinance going back to 1996. I believe you guys should have a copy of this, which basically says, and I'm going to try to read it out. You want me to read it verbatim? Or, okay, oof.
Just
Some of it,
summarize.
okay. Because it basically talks about Newton County tax debts will be considered uncollectible under the following circumstances. 1, where collection of said debt is barred by the statute of limitations. B, where said debt arises from a tax on real property and an owner other than the named taxpayer has owned the property for more than 4 years. C, where the debt arises from a tax on personal property and owner other than the named taxpayer has owned the property for more than 2 years. D, where the debt arises from a tax on personal property and the owner of the personal property cannot be located after a diligent search. E, where debt is evidenced by duplicate or erroneous bills that have not been properly processed. F, any other debt which the tax commissioner reasonably believes to be uncollectible. And 2 says all debts that are determined to be uncollectible under paragraph 1, which is what I read before, will be compiled into an insolvency list by the tax commissioner, myself. This list will be delivered from time to time and at least once a year to the Board of Tax Assessors for review. The Board of Tax Assessors will then submit a list of debts which has been properly identified as uncollectible to the Board of Commissioners, you, for approval and placement in the minute book so as to authorize the purging of such uncollectible debts from the Tax Commissioner's Digest. Hence the reason we are here. I have no idea why this hasn't been done before. I can't speak to that. I can tell you these taxes from 2014 to 2018, some of them don't even have proper data. Okay, so let me address this too to the gentleman that spoke specifically about real estate. A lot of these properties are uncollectible because they're slivers of land. In any business, you will have bad debt. There is no business, including tax, that you don't have bad debt. That's uncollectible. We have a lot of personal property accounts that are uncollectible because those businesses have been closed. So we can't go back and go get the money from somebody that doesn't exist. And so this is what this list is. And we're supposed to be providing a list every year. We file tax liens on every property that's delinquent. And after 7 years, those liens are considered unenforceable. Hence the reason why we were in 2014 to 2018, because 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 are the 7 years. And you're more than welcome to ask council That is standard. This is standard operating procedure in 99 of the counties throughout the state. So this is nothing new. Now, it's maybe new to Newton County because we haven't enforced it, but this is not new. Any questions?
Let's get a motion and a second and then discussion. How about that? Okay, Commissioner Edwards?
Thank you, Commissioner. So, uncollectible taxes, but these now go to a tax sale, is that correct?
So some of these properties have already been to tax sale. Again, I can't take something to tax sale for 2014, 15, 16, 17, and 18. The liens are unenforceable at this point, right? Again, I can't be held responsible for that because I wasn't here. And I don't know why we didn't do that prior, so I can't speak to that. But yes, these liens are unenforceable, if some of them have liens, quite frankly.
I guess my question would be, if so the properties, if we can't take them to a tax sale.
Yes, and I'll give you an example of that, sir. These properties you can't really take, and I'll tell you, because these are very individual, small slivers of land. I'll give you an example. Last year when we had our first tax sale, when I came into office, we had a significant number of properties that were owed multiple years taxes. Our first tax sale that we did in September of 2025, we actually had 260 properties that we scheduled. These all were multiple years, everybody more than 3 years. So it included some of these. We ended up taking 102 to sale, roughly 50 of them sold. 52, nobody bid on them. So these are things that Marty Kennard, who is the chief appraiser, and I are working through to figure out what do we need to do with these properties. Because essentially, nobody bought them. We've already taken them to sale. What do we do?
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Mason?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner, for this presentation and for bringing this to our attention. So when you actually came in, and you may or may not have this data with you at this particular time, are you able to kind of share with us as well as the general public, where were we when it came to the amount of collections when you came into office to where we are now?
So it's funny because the data that I use, I can only use current data. So for the people here, that's a great point for the commissioners. We know for a fact, because we have this data, and I shared this with some of the commissioners last week. In the year 2021, hold on, let me pull that up here real quick. I have that right here with me. For tax year 2021, our collection rate is 99.88%. For 2022, our tax collection rate is 99.89%. For 2023, our collection rate is 99.84%. And 2024, we had 99.57%. So we are collecting 99.89. We can't do any more than that. That's why I'm saying every organization has bad debts. Some things you cannot. And I'll give you another example, and this is something that Marty Kennard and I are working through, is with personal properties, people sometimes don't file a return. And so therefore, if you own a business, and you're supposed to file a return by April 1, and you don't file a return, but you close the business, they don't know that the business is closed. So they just put it back on the tax digest as another year. So now I am forced to then go and track all these things, and I'm chasing shadows. So quite frankly, 2014 to 2018, and we're over, 150, $160 million a year in tax collections. You're looking at 4 years worth of taxes worth less than $280,000. This is, I don't want to minuscule, but this is significant, not a significant amount of money in the grand scheme of things.
Thank you.
Commissioner Long?
I know I hear what you're saying. I guess my question is, when I go through this list, I know a lot of these people, and I know where I can find these people today if I left this meeting. So does it mean it's uncollectible because we can't get in touch with it? Or are you just saying it's personal property that the business has closed and we couldn't collect on it even if we knew to go to their house right now and ask them for the money?
Who's going to pay it?
Huh?
If you go back to somebody that had a business in 2014 and said, I knew you had a business, right, at a barber shop, I'll just throw that out. Or now it's 2014, we're looking at 12 years later, and I knock on your door and say, go ahead and pay it. What are they going to do? Okay, That's the answer. They're not going to pay it. It's not, you're not going to get, that's why it's deemed uncollectible. Right?
It's just hard, I think, that exactly what the gentleman said, and it's hard for me too, as we all pay our taxes when we're sitting here, and I know this list is not your large list. I know this is old, and I knew about this. You told me this the day you came into office about this list. But it's just hard for us citizens to see us say, oh, we can't collect it. So before, I'm struggling here because I don't want to write nothing off.
Well, good luck with that. If you don't write anything off, it's not collectible. You can leave it on the books. What is it going to do? I'm not chasing those shadows. I'm going to tell you that. That's chasing shadows. We have 19 people, 18 people in our office. We don't have the manpower for that. I'm sorry. We'll be chasing shadows, going after something from 2014, 2015. I don't mean that in... It's just practical.
I mean, we have limited resources. Do we have any kind of legal thing to go after somebody that owes us taxes this far back? I mean, some of these are very small, and I understand that, but I mean, I don't know. We don't have a total on this page, so I don't know how much we're saying that we're going to write off, what that total is. But what's the legal? Is there any legal recourse?
I know sometimes when judgments are past a certain amount of time, there is sometimes provisions where you can go back and sort of renew the judgment and bring it back to life. But you really would have to look on it at a case-by-case basis to see if there's... Because
it would cost a lot to do that, right?
I mean...
Recording.
I mean, yes, if you're going to have counsel look at it, it would cost. There'd be cost to that.
And I want to say this. This is definitely a cleanup effort here. Going forward, you're looking at 1 year. It's not going to look way as bad as... This should have never been to this point. I'm just going to be honest with you. That's why it looks more alarming than it really is. Again, if you break it down by year, you're talking 5 years, 280,000. You're talking 60,000 a year. When we collect $160 million a year, again, our collection rates are 99.89% on average. Can't do much better than that. You just can't. It's impossible.
I don't think we're arguing with you. I think it's just difficult to swallow.
But what do? As a tax commissioner, I'm telling you, there are some things that I've worked elsewhere in other offices as well. It's what we do every year. That's why we have this ordinance. Well, I don't know why it's never been followed, but that's why we have the ordinance. You have to allow that.
Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So are these businesses, these are just commercial, not residential, correct?
So some of
or is it a combination?
So it's real mobile homes. We don't even know where the mobile homes are.
So they're gone.
They could be gone. They're gone. We don't know where the mobile homes are. And mobile homes is difficult. They're difficult because to pick it up and go. You're talking mobile homes. You're talking, like I said, personal property. And for the audience, personal property could be equipment. It could be small businesses, open a little mom and pop shop, and it's based on the contents that's in your business. Matter of fact, this week, give a shameless plug, my Facebook page, but we just posted about that last week. What is personal property and why do we collect it and so on and so forth. So I want to tell you, we're making great efforts. This is more of a cleanup thing. I understand, Commissioner Long, why you have hesitation. I get it. I totally understand, right? But at the end of the day, we are chasing shadows.
And I think the reason why I posed that question is because if these are commercial businesses, are these commercial businesses that are still in operation they're closed?
They're not in operation.
Okay.
They're not in operation.
But it's a combination of residential and commercial. So those commercial businesses, they've closed, but the residents...
When we talk about residential here, not necessarily residential. We're talking parcels.
Okay, so a parcel, not an actual physical home on an actual parcel.
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense.
These are parcels.
Okay.
Not necessarily a residential house. Okay. Trust me, to the gentleman that spoke, I agree with him. My parents are 79 and about to be 80, and as much as they have to pay, I have to pay, and so I want everybody to pay. And that's why we are being that way. This year we plan on having probably 3 or 4 tax sales, right, to get... we've left with a lot of delinquencies, and so we have to try to clean that up. But to be chasing stuff from 2014 to 2018, there's no lien that we can't. Even if we had the lien's unenforceable because we can't levy. If we can't levy, we can't collect it, and council will tell you that. If you don't have a levy, you can't get the money. They're not going to pay you.
So with those additional parcels that were not sold, will they be reintroduced again at the next one, or is there a time limit of when
No.
those have to be?
We can't take if a parcel didn't sell, but you
Right.
got to ask yourself, why did it not sell?
Right.
And when you start looking at it, it's a retention pond. Who's buying that?
Okay.
So, you've got to look at it individually. I agree with you, case by case basis, which we have no problem doing. That's what we've been doing. But this stuff is so old, it's chasing shadows.
Yeah, and I've delved into a little bit of real estate. Our real estate
Dabble.
guru is over there at the end.
Yes, yes.
She knows.
She knows.
This,
I know she knows.
But in real estate, you hear location.
Correct.
It's
Correct.
key and it's important. And so what you're saying is possibility
Correct.
that, like you're saying, some of those are retention ponds, or you can't really build on them anymore. Landlocked. Yeah.
That type of stuff. Nobody's going to buy that. And we saw that when we had that tax sale last year, where like 50 of them did not get sold.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Commissioner Cooper.
And Commissioner, thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Madam Chair. And Commissioner, I think I heard you say you and one of your coworkers are actually going to be working on this to make sure that we don't have anything of this this many years uncollected, or
That will never happen under my watch.
Okay.
In the future. I can assure you of that. That's why I'm doing this, to get it clean. So every year when I come and I scrub that list, right? For example, next year, I would look at 2018. We're going to scrub that list line item by line item to identify what's going on here, right? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And we've done a lot of that on the 24 to 2018. But I guess I get what people are saying. You can leave it on the books. I'm not wasting, we can't waste valuable resources chasing some from 2014. That's just not a good business practice, quite frankly.
right. And it just looked kind of puzzling, 4 years of taxes and it hadn't been collected. But like I said, I think I heard you said you got something moving forward.
Yeah,
So maybe-
we're I don't want to say uber aggressive, but I am going to be more aggressive than probably others in terms of collecting. Nobody wants to take anybody's property, and I know that's a tool in the tax commissioner's toolbox is to take you to tax sale. But ultimately, nobody wants to do that. Trust me, no tax commissioner. But sometimes we have to. But yes, we will be taking more properties to tax sale, and I can assure you, we're not going to be having 4 years worth of property taxes that we got to say, hey, we got to wipe out 2014 to 2018. I can assure you that's not going to happen. Not under my watch.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a motion? That's right. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Board, Madam Chair. Thank you so much.
At this time, we will have our zoning presented by Ayani Ramos.
Ms. Ramos, you can just say Ms. Ramos.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'll be presenting tonight's zoning petitions. The first case on the agenda is a conditional use permit. Case number is CUP 25-000015. The proposed use is an upholstery business, location 661 Dukes Road. Tax parcel is 0130-001N. Acreage is 6.59 acres. The future land use is rural residential. The zoning is agricultural residential. The watershed is in Bear Creek and Murder Creek. The commissioner district is 1. The owner is Sean and Haley Flynn, and the petitioner is Sean Flynn. And the proposed use is to operate an upholstery business in a 1,280 square foot accessory building and have customer contact for a home occupation business. The business involves recovering boat seating and coverings. And just a brief history, last week on February 24th, the Planning Commission recommended approval for this petition by a vote of 4-0, and there was no public opposition. So this is the subject site. It's at the corner of Dukes Road and Highway 11 South. It's marked by a star in the upper right image. It contains a house and a few accessory structures, and there are scattered single-family residential homes and rural land around the property. And on the bottom, this is a street view from Highway 11. You can see the property has shop and accessory structures located here, screened vegetatively. And then this is the street view from Dukes Road. This is the home and accessory structure. This is just a bigger view of the of the property. The house is right here. It's 2,809 heated square feet. This is an ADU/garage, 2,950 square feet. This is it's currently a garage/shop. This is where they're proposing the business to be. It's 1,280 heated square feet. This is an existing horse pole barn. We estimated that it's 1,400 square feet based on Q Public measurements. And this is a carport right here, which is 760 square feet. And this is the applicable section from our ordinance for a home occupation business license. Just to highlight a couple of the standards, our ordinance requires a conditional use if a person wants to have customer contact for their business, and also if they're going to locate the business in an accessory structure. So that's why we're here before you today. This is a site plan that the applicant provided. The shop is circled in red. It's, again, 1,280 heated square feet, which will be used for the business. As far as setbacks go, it's an estimated 360 plus feet from the house, 553 feet to the front property line, 133 feet to the east, 166 feet to the west, and 612 feet to the back property line. And based on the concept plan, it does meet our minimum building setbacks that are listed in the UDO. And any signage that they want to use for the business would have to meet the requirements in Division 525. This is a floor plan. It will mainly be used for storage and for their boat seatings and coverings. They have a sewing table. There is a bathroom to the back with just a toilet and a sink that'll be used for the property owner only, no customers. But mainly everything will be stored here. These are some exterior pictures. And these are interior pictures. And this is where they store their materials for their business and where they make the boat seatings and covering as well. So to conclude, staff is of the opinion that the proposed use is a compatible home occupation business that will not conflict with the surrounding properties and use. It will operate in the 1,280 heated square foot shop on a 6.59 acre tract, and it's not part of a subdivision. We've also received engineers' reports to confirm that the shop is structurally sound. Again, it will be used to cover boat seating and coverings. There will be no manufacturing, no outdoor storage or commercial vehicles used for the business. Per the applicant, customer contact will be limited to once a week for pickup and drop off only, and advertisements will be made via social media and by word of mouth. With the stipulated conditions, we expect no adverse impacts with this proposal. So should this petition be approved by the Board of Commissioners, it should be approved for a conditional use permit to operate a home occupation with customer contact and be located in an accessory structure. Conditional subject to the owner's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. Where these conditions conflict with the stipulations and offerings contained in a letter of intent, these conditions shall supersede unless specifically stipulated by the Board of Commissioners. So number 1, to the owner's agreement to restrict the use of the accessory structure as follows. A, an upholstery business. B, limit the hours of operation from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Monday through Friday for customer contact. C, limit one customer at a time. D, there will be no outside storage of materials. Number 2, no building, construction, or land disturbance is allowed on the property without applicable permits. 3, as applicable, obtain environmental health approval before the issuance of a business license. 4, must obtain and maintain a Newton County business license. 5, the shop cannot exceed 1,280 heated square feet. 6, any new signage associated with the business shall require appropriate permits from Development Services. So this is just an old survey of the property. This is the zoning map, currently agricultural residential. The future land use map, which is rural residential. The watershed map, Bear Creek and Murder Creek. Commissioner District 1. And that concludes the presentation.
Okay, at this time, we will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this zoning, you can come forward. There will be a total of 10 minutes. Anyone in favor?
Evening. My name is Philip Carter. I'd just like to say that I think Flynn's Upholstery would be a great addition to the Mansfield community, and I'm just here in support. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll close that part of the public hearing, and we'll open the part, anyone wishing to speak against the zoning. If you'd come forward, that's also a total of 10 minutes. Okay. So we have no one. We will close that part of the public hearing. Can we have a motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve conditional use permit 25-000015 for discussion purposes, please.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Second? Okay, any discussion? Commissioner Edwards?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I want to go back to the signage. I know that the property fronts on Highway 11. Can you go back to the slide where, there we go. One more, go back. So the property fronts on 11 and Dukes Road. So signage, I know we've had an issue with signage in the last couple months on this particular property. So would the signage be allowable on 11 or Dukes Road or both?
The applicant indicated that they want to put it at the corner of Highway 11 and Dukes Road, as long as they're within their property lines and at least 10 feet away from the right-of-way.
How far?
10 feet.
Okay, I would support. I will continue to support this conditional use permit if the applicant can do no signs whatsoever.
Okay.
Just so the whole board knows.
So you want to add that as a condition?
And yes, that's an addition. That's an additional condition. Also wanted to ask, can potential customers drive back to the 14 to the 1,200 square foot barn back there? Is that allowable?
We have no regulations that prevent it, but the driveway that they have, it only goes up to the house and then ADU right here. There seems to be some kind of dirt path right here.
So this is gonna take another driveway.
Well, no, they're not proposing another driveway.
Well, yeah, I don't want, because we got neighbors, right? So we don't wanna create a commercial hub here. And I'm trying to give them what they want without, because I'm a mile from here, so I live within a mile of this place. So I want to give them what they want, because I'm gonna have to use their upholstery shop one day, right? So, but I don't want to do it to the detriment of the neighbors, any neighbors. So, and I can see I can see by this view, there's some worn going back to the. I want another condition placed that we don't drive back to this barn from Dukes Road. Yeah, the customers do not access the barn or the place where they're going to do the upholstery work from Dukes Road, or Highway 11 for that matter.
Commissioner Long?
I agree with Commissioner Edwards. I mean, I'm not a big proponent to having commercial businesses in residential areas, period. So I do not think that we should allow signage. I can understand people having a workshop and doing something, and he's probably does these seats. I'm not speaking, I don't know if he's here, the petitioner, but, works on these in his shop, and then when they come pick them up, which that's totally fine. But I agree, driving all over the property, it looks like they've been driving on the property with some kind of ATV or something like that, not really cars, but they could service the person at their house, and pick up the seats or whatever they're picking up. But definitely no signage, so I totally am in agreement with you, Commissioner Edwards, on the no signage.
So could I, Madam Chair, could I amend my motion?
Yes, please.
I'd like to amend my motion to include the two conditions that I added. And we've got those documented, correct?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, is there a second? All in favor? Okay, thank you.
The second case on the agenda is a new tower location, also a conditional use permit. Case number is NTL 25-000002. There are two companion cases. One is a variance, VAR 25-000008, and an overlay special exception case, OSP EC 25-000001. The proposed use is a wireless telecommunications tower facility. The location is 12011 Brownbridge Road. Parcel size, it's 8 acres in total, but they will only utilize 0.23 acres for the tower facility. Tax parcel 0027-093A. Future land use is development node and park recreation conservation. The zoning is R2, single family residential, and it's also in the Salem Tier 1 residential overlay. The watershed is Yellow River, Commissioner District 4. The owner is Charles Jordan, and the petitioner is Tower Co. Baker Donaldson Law Firm, and the rep today will be Mr. Patton. And the intent is to obtain a conditional use permit to develop a new wireless telecommunications tower for T-Mobile. So history, back in January 22nd of this year, the Board of Zoning Appeals approved the first companion case, which was the variance VAR 25-000008 by a vote of 5-0. The purpose of the variance request was to grant relief from the masonry fencing requirement for a new tower facility. On February 24th of this year, the Planning Commission recommended approval of this petition by a vote of 4-0. There was no public opposition. And on the same day, February 24th, the Planning Commission approved the other companion case, which was the overlay special exception, by a vote of 4-0. There was no public opposition. The purpose of this request was to waive the Salem overlay vegetative screening requirements. So basically the standard just requires 100% coverage of planting area, including a minimum of 75% evergreen plant materials, have a height of not less than 6 feet in 2 years, and be planted in a minimum of 2 rows with staggered spacing such that a continuous opaque screen is created within 2 years. So basically the Salem overlay required that they have 2 rows of vegetative screening, and the Planning Commission approved their waiver request to just have the 1 row. So the subject site is located on the south side of Brown Bridge Road and is currently undeveloped. There's a creek, wetlands, and flood zone to the south of the property, and it's completely surrounded by single-family residential uses. And this is the property marked by the star. And this is the street view with the estimated access point for the tower facility between these 2 homes. This is the applicable section from our UDO regarding cell towers. So for the site plan, they're proposing a 30-foot ingress/egress and utility easement that comes off of Brown Bridge Road. That will have to be approved by the county's transportation and before they get like any land disturbance or building permits. They are proposing a 12-foot gravel drive that leads to the 100-foot by 100-foot lease area for the new tower site. They're proposing a 250-foot self-support tower with a 5-foot lightning rod and associated ground equipment. As far as setbacks go, the tower is 190 feet away from the closest north property line, 492 feet away from the east property line, 215 feet from the south property line, and 197 feet from the west. Regarding off-site residences, the UDO requires that the distance from the tower be equal to the height of the tower, and they meet those from parcels 27-91, it's 424 feet away from the house. Parcel 27-90 is 380 feet from the house. Parcel 27-89, 367 feet away, and parcel 27-88 is at least 447 feet away. And from parcel 27-87A, it's at least 492 feet away. In the Salem overlay tier 1, they have setbacks of 0 feet for the front, 5 feet for the side, and 10 feet for the rear. In the R2 zoning district, which is the base zoning district for this property, their minimum setbacks are 60 feet from the front, 10 feet from the side, and 25 from the rear. And clearly those setbacks are met. There's also a creek at the southern property line, and the compound fence that surrounds the facility is at least 203 feet away from the shoreline per the applicant, so that meets our county's watershed requirements for buffers. Regarding fencing and landscaping, the tower will be surrounded by a 70-foot by 70-foot fence compound. The fence will be at least 6 feet in height, and it's made of a chain link fence with mesh with green plastic screening. And the landscape buffer, they're proposing 1 row of green giant trees and Japanese holly, and they've acknowledged that they will meet our requirements, that the buffer will not be less than 6 feet in height and will obtain a height of 8 feet within 5 years. And it's hard to see right here, but this is the proposed 20-foot landscape buffer, and this is the 70 by 70-foot fence compound. So the landscape buffer will be, it will surround the fence compound. This is a bigger version of the concept plan. The tower site is here. And their proposed entrance will come through here. And these are enlarged site plans. This is the proposed elevation. So to conclude, staff recommends that should the standards under section 510-630 and the conditions for the companion cases VAR 25-00008 and OSPEC 25-00001, it should be approved at this location. So should this petition be approved by the Board of Commissioners, it should be approved for a conditional use permit for a wireless telecommunications tower, subject to the owner's agreement to the following conditions. Where these conditions conflict with the stipulations and offerings contained in the letter of intent, these conditions shall supersede unless specifically stipulated by the Board of Commissioners. Number 1, to the owner's agreement to restrict the use of the leased area of the subject property as follows. A telecommunications tower and support structure / fencing at tower base. B, comply with the standards of section 510-630 of the UDO as applicable. 2, to the owner's agreement to abide by the following. A, to the site plan and legal description received by the Department of Development Services on December 5th, 2025. Said site plan is conceptual only and must meet or exceed the requirements of the UDO and these conditions prior to the approval of the land disturbance permit. Unless otherwise noted herein, compliance with all conditions shall be in place prior to the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy. 3, to the owner's agreement to abide by the following development standards. A, landscaping plan meeting the requirements of the zoning ordinance to be approved by Development Services. B, the driveway and access shall be approved by the Transportation Department prior to any permits being issued. C, telecommunications tower shall be a self-support design. D, maximum height of tower to be 250 feet, 255 feet with the lightning rod. E, provide for at least 3 antennas. F, self-support towers shall accommodate equipment for potential use by Newton County for E911 and other emergency services. So these are a couple of surveys. The first one in the upper left is the original survey for the entire parcel. And then the bottom right is the survey that was provided by the applicant. This is the zoning map, R2. The overlay map, Salem Tier 1. The future land use, development node, and PRC. Watershed, Yellow River. Commissioner District 4 map. And this is a flood zone river and wetlands map. The flood zone is represented by the green. The thick blue line is the wetlands, according to Q Public, and the narrow blue line is the creek, which is at the southern property line. And this is a couple of maps that T-Mobile provided. On the left, the yellow represents reliable in-vehicle coverage, and the green represents reliable in-building coverage. So on the left is what it currently looks like, and on the right is how they're proposing the coverage will be after the tower is installed. And this is just a competitive map that T-Mobile issued just to show the lack of coverage the site currently has. And that concludes the presentation.
At this time, we'll have a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of zoning, please come forward. There will be a total of 10 minutes to speak in favor.
Patton Hahn, 1901 6th Avenue North, Birmingham, Alabama. I'm a counsel for Tower Co. Thank you, Madam Chairman, Commissioners. I don't really have much to add to the very thorough staff report that your staff just presented. I would note that in that staff report, they go through all the requirements of your ordinance. We believe that our application meets all of the requirements of your ordinance, other than the item that we requested a variance for on the masonry. I think these maps are the only thing I would tell the story for is that's why the tower is being built, is to fill that white area there, which is a gap in T-Mobile's coverage. The tower will have space for other carriers to co-locate on there, and as your staff mentioned, will also have space for county emergency E911 equipment. But I'm happy to answer any questions you have about this project.
Commissioner Long.
Will you have any kind of camouflage on the tower, or is this going to be straight up tower? No, I've seen other towers that look a little better because they're camouflage at the top.
This tower is not going to be camouflaged.
Okay.
And your ordinance actually doesn't require it, and a lot of ordinances we work with do. Your
Oh, we're going to write that down now for the UDO. So thank you for answering that for me.
I would also say that a lot of attempts to camouflage towers backfire in terms of generally when you do, you're going to make them look like a tree or something. And what you're really doing is that you're increasing the visual profile of the tower.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in favor? Okay, we'll close that part of the public hearing. Anyone wishing to come forward to speak against this zoning?
Dennis Taylor, again, I'm not sure I'm speaking against it. I just don't understand a couple of things. And this is my neighborhood, the Yellow River. I didn't see a road that's going to go back to the tower. Maybe he said something about a road going to be built to go back to the tower. But how much of the floodplain or the wetlands will be disturbed by anything going back there? Because we've disturbed that Yellow River way too much already. So that's my concern. Thank you.
Hello, Board. My name is Natravius Smith, address 6150 Water Oak Circle, Covington, Georgia 30014. I mentioned this at the last meeting I came to. I don't necessarily have a disagreement, just a couple of questions I think should be added to the presentation. One of those things that are very important to me is material, because when you talk about a telephone pole, depending on what kind of material you use, especially wooden ones, you're using chemicals to protect that pole. Those things get into your soil, they affect your groundwater and things of that sort. So you need to know if the telephone pole is wood, steel, concrete, etc. The other thing I have to say is I don't necessarily know the situation of the current commissioner of District 4 who is not here. So I don't think it's fair to vote on this topic without the truth of the constituents of District 4. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we'll close that portion of the public hearing. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Any discussion? Mr. Edwards?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I remember just a few short years ago, in the 2020 timeframe, people were begging for cell coverage and internet coverage, absolutely begging for it. Now I'm not a T-Mobile customer, but I mean, I know these things are they're not the prettiest things to look at, but they're I believe a necessary evil. I don't want to call them evil. They're not evil. We're addicted to these, right? So if we want to keep using these, and a lot of people get their TV and their internet over the cell towers. So I believe they're here to stay, and I believe if this area can fill in these gaps on this map with this particular tower, I believe I'm in favor of it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Long?
Just want to make a comment. Yes, Mr. Henderson is out for an emergency tonight, and normally he would, if there's something he didn't want and he wasn't going to be here, he would probably let us know. We have communication with him. I feel like that this is something that he would help. It would help his constituents with, getting internet, because T-Mobile does a lot of home internet now, and the prices are a lot better than some of these large cable companies out there. So, and I don't think it's fair, unfortunately, to hold up this petitioner. From a business standpoint, and I feel assured that Commissioner Henderson would have let us know if he had some, and we've had no public people really disagree with it. So I do want to put that out there from Mr. Henderson's behalf.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, thank you. We'll go to the next one.
The third case on the petition is a rezoning case, case number REZ 25-000012. The location is 495 Bates Road. Tax parcel is 0106-050A. The parcel size is 4.7 acres. The future land use is rural residential. The existing zoning is agricultural, and the proposed zoning is agricultural residential. The character area is low-density rural residential. The watershed is Alcovey River. Commissioner District 1. The owner and petitioner is Betty and Haven McCohen, and the intent is to rezone the property to agricultural residential to subdivide for a family conveyance. And just a brief history, last week on February 24th, the Planning Commission recommended approval of this petition by a vote of 4-0, and there was no public opposition. So this is the subject site on the upper right. They have dual road frontage on McDonald Road and Bates Road. There is one single family residence that faces Bates Road, and the rest of the property is undeveloped. And the surrounding area is made up of single family residential homes and agricultural uses and land. And this is just a street view from Bates Road and McDonald Road. The character area is low density rural residential, and it supports the proposed zoning to agricultural residential. For the site plan analysis, they're proposing to subdivide the property into 2 tracts. Tract 1 will be 2 acres. It'll be used for a future residential home for a family member. And tract 2 is 2.70 acres. That contains the existing home on it that fronts Bates Road. And the proposed minor plat meets or exceeds our minimum building setbacks from the UDO, and also the Alcovey River watershed 2-acre requirement is met. And this is just a close-up of the concept plan. Tract 1 is here, which fronts McDonald Road, and tract 2 is here on Bates Road. So to conclude, staff is of the opinion that the proposed zoning to AR may be appropriate based on the similar zoning and uses in the area. The rezoning will be consistent with the policies and intent of the comp plan, and will also bring the property into compliance, as the current zoning is agricultural, which requires a 10-acre requirement, and they currently don't meet that. So should this petition be approved by the Board of Commissioners, it should be approved agricultural residential, conditional, subject to the owner's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. Where these conditions conflict with the stipulations and offerings contained in the letter of intent, these conditions shall supersede unless specifically stipulated by the Board of Commissioners. Number 1, to the owner's agreement to the following. A, submit a minor plat subdividing parcel 0106-050A into 2 tracts. B, submit appropriate plans/plats to be reviewed and approved by Development Services, Public Works, Fire Services, Newton County Water Authority, Georgia Soil and Water, and GDOT as applicable. This is a survey of the property that shows how it's currently set up. The zoning map, currently agricultural, represented by the dark green. They're hoping to rezone to the light green, AR. Their future land use, which is rural residential. The watershed map, Alcovey River. Commissioner District 1 map. And the character area map, low density rural residential. And that concludes the presentation.
This time we'll open the floor for public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this zoning, please come forward. There'll be a total of 10 minutes to speak in favor. You can come on.
Yeah, I'm Haven McCown, and we just trying to get the 2 acres on to where we can build a house. We're trying to cut 2 acres off of 5. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Maybe you bet.
Seeing no one else, we'll close this portion of the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak against the zoning, please come forward. It'll be a total of 10 minutes to speak. Okay, well, seeing no one, we'll close that portion of the public hearing. Can we get a motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is District 1. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve rezoning request REZ 25-000012 with staff recommendations.
Second? Second. Any discussion? Commissioner Long?
Hey, real quick, I had this question come up today. There's a tract of property for sale in District 1, and they are wanting to come before the board and split it, but the property's for sale. So when I am all for helping the families and splitting these up for people to put their loved ones or their children or something, because you can't afford real estate anymore, so you need help every way you can. So are these conditions to this family, or once this property is split, they could be sold off as two different tracts and they never build a property on there? How does that work? I mean, we're splitting it for a family hardship, but once we split it, it becomes two tracts.
They haven't indicated that they're going to sell the property to...
Not necessarily them, I'm not necessarily calling them out, but that is a question that once we divide, we're doing this for a family hardship and for another family member, which I totally understand because you've got to have these divided to get loans. But are those part of the conditions that we're doing this for a family? I mean, how does that, you see what I'm getting at?
Yes, I see what you mean. We don't have any conditions that specify it has to be for a family member. But as we do have an exempt plat affidavit where the owner has certified that they are going to sell it to a family member. So,
okay, that's fine. That was a question that came up today from someone, so I was just curious since we have done these, but I didn't know about them being for.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. We'll go to the next one.
The last case on the agenda is a conditional use permit. Case number CUP 26-000001. The proposed use is an office with outside storage and fleet parking. Location is 2765 Access Road. Tax parcel is 0024-076. Parcel size is 1.94 acres. The future land use map is development node. The existing zoning is highway commercial, and it's in the Alman Tier 2 non-residential / mixed use overlay. The watershed is Yellow River, Commission District 3. The owner is 2765 Access Road, LLC. The petitioner is Larry Cox, and the intent is to operate an office with outside storage and fleet parking in the Alman Tier 2 overlay, which requires a CUP. The business is Dankel Concrete Cutting, and they provide concrete sawing and removal services for various clients off-site. So just to specify, any work that they do will be off-site. They will not be doing any concrete or similar work on the property. So as far as the history goes, back in February 4th of 2025, our office received a zoning compliance form for a business license for Dankel Concrete Cutting to operate at this location. On February 5th of last year, our office requested more information for the proposed business in order to clarify what the applicable use was. On February 20th of last year, the applicant was informed that the proposed business was classified as an office with outside storage and fleet parking, and a conditional use permit would be required before getting a business license. A concept plan was also requested in order to schedule a pre-application meeting. On October 17th of last year, code enforcement inspected the subject property as they are operating the business currently without a license. They notified the person on site that they needed to contact our office, Development Services, to come into compliance. On October 24th of last year, our business license office received a second license application for the business. And again, we informed the applicant they had to apply for a conditional use. On December 9th of last year, we received a conditional use application, and on December 17th, a pre-application meeting was held. And last week, on February 24th, the Planning Commission recommended approval of this petition by a vote of 4-0, and there was no public opposition. So the subject site is on the south side of the access road. The business Dankel Concrete Cutting currently utilizes the property for their business. There's a shop on the property that they use for admin work and routine maintenance and repairs of their trucks and equipment. There is also outside storage for additional vehicles and heavy equipment that's shown here, more towards the north of the property. So the existing 5,000 square foot shop has been in existence since 1988, according to the tax assessor's website. There's an existing 40-foot by 60-foot concrete pad that's used for the outside storage, and an upper parking area in front of the shop that's used for employees. From 2012 to 2023, we had a business license on file for a business called Ride the Wind Trailers, and they utilized the property for utility trailer sales and service. There is a flood zone that borders the northwestern and south property boundary lines and covers the majority of the upper parking area. Flood zone is marked by green in the second map, and light industrial and commercial uses surround the property. These are site aerials from 2020, 2016, and 2013 for the previous business on file, which is Ride the River Trailers. And we just included these images just to show that the property has been used for outside storage for quite some time. This is the applicable section 510-547 from our UDO regarding the use, office for outside storage and fleet parking. For the site plan analysis, again, it's on the south side of the access road. Towards the back of the property is the 5,000 square foot shop / office. Northwest side is the 40 by 60 foot concrete pad that's used for fleet vehicles and heavy equipment, such as 350 and F550 trucks and concrete cutting equipment. The employee parking area is between the shop and the concrete pad. Ingress and egress will be off an existing drive that's on access road. The concrete pad that's in the front, it does conflict with the regulations in the ordinance, which requires that the outside storage has to be located in the rear yard. This is technically in the front yard. However, the property has been in existence since the late 1980s and was designed to have the concrete pad in the front for outside storage. And also the previous business utilized the concrete pad for outside storage as well. So we do find the site plan and the use satisfactory at this time. And this is just a bigger version of the concept plan. Number 1, they have labeled the daily employee parking, and number 2. 3 is fleet truck parking, and 4 is the temporary equipment parking. These are a few site photos. The upper left is an aerial view, and the upper right, and the bottom 2 photos are how the site currently looks. This is the shop interior and the floor plan. So to conclude, Dankel Concrete Cutting intends to use the subject property for their day-to-day business operations, which includes conducting admin work in the shop, routine maintenance and repairs for trucks and equipment, and utilizing the existing 40-foot by 60-foot concrete pad for outside storage. The property is located on the access road and is large enough to accommodate ingress and egress, and there is adequate area for parking. So staff recommends approval of the petition. Should this petition be approved by the Board of Commissioners, it should be approved for a conditional use permit for an office with outside storage / fleet parking, conditional subject to the owner's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. Where these conditions conflict with the stipulations and offerings contained in the letter of intent, these conditions shall supersede unless specifically stipulated by the Board of Commissioners. Number 1, to the owner's agreement to abide by the following development standards. A, CUP 26-000-001 will be for an office with outside storage and fleet parking. B, outside storage is limited to 25% of the total lot. C, outside storage areas and refuse containers shall be screened and buffered so as not to be visible from the public right-of-ways or abutting residentially zoned properties. D, outside storage area is allowed in the front yard as shown on the concept plan submitted on December 29th, 2025. E, truck parking is limited to the fleet owned by the business. F, obtain and maintain a Newton County business license. G, record service, salvage, abandonment, recovery, or repossession of automobiles and trucks and temporary storage of said vehicles is prohibited. H, tractor trailers shall not be allowed as part of the office fleet. I, obtain all approvals and permits required from Development Services, Fire Services, the Transportation Department, Newton County Water Sewage Authority, and Environmental Health as applicable. This is a survey of the property. The zoning map is currently highway commercial and is surrounded by the light industrial zoning. The overlay map in tier 2. The future land use map, development node. Watershed map, Yellow River. Commissioner District 3 map. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you. At this time, we will have the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this zoning, please come forward. There will be a total of 10 minutes.
My name is Larry Cox, and I'm here just to answer any questions because she did a fantastic job doing the presentation, and there is no use duplicating anything she has said, but I do present myself to answer any questions that the board may have.
Commissioner Cooper.
Yeah, question I have, and maybe a concern as well for me, is that you didn't say anything about cleaning your equipment, or if you clean the equipment on this property.
We do not clean the equipment on site, but when we require them to have the equipment cleaned before they brought it in, so we don't clean any equipment on site. And it's just really our trucks and our saws that they bring in, and we require that those saws be cleaned before they're brought in, because they bring them in on their box trucks if they bring them in, but 95% of the time, most repairs are done in the field, because we work in a 6-state area, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, and Alabama. So our fleet is on the road 95% of the time, the majority of the year. So we do, like if we bring something into the office to repair, it's a major repair. So they've already went through it, cleaned it, and whatever out in the field, and they couldn't fix it there, and that's why they're bringing it back to us.
Okay, and I guess I'm assuming that box truck, make sure it's not tractor trailer.
We do not do tractor trailers. We do have some large equipment, but we contract that if we have anybody bring anything in or out. And also, we do not do business at the location. So you do not have a lot of in and out. You just have the administrative staff that comes in that does billing and any of our paperwork and all the processes we do, and we have our mechanic that's on staff there that does the repairs of things. So you do not have a lot of in and out traffic during the day, because people come to work, they stay there, and they leave at the end of the day.
Okay, and one last, how long you been operating currently?
We've been there since last year, and like I said, I apologize for the licensing thing. We had a contracts administrator, and they were the one that was responsible for doing that, and unfortunately, myself and the CFO assumed that all that was taken care of, and then we found out in October, and as soon as we found out, I took that over myself to make sure that that process was followed through on, and we got the license. I mean, that we filled the proper paperwork out. Okay. But we've been in business. Let me go back. We opened up a business in 2014 in Conyers, but we opened up, unfortunately, across from BioLab, and we evacuated. So we're a refugee that has come to Rockdale. I mean, to Newton County for we could not do business anymore across the street from BioLab.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no one else, we'll close that portion. Anyone wishing to speak against the zoning, please come forward. It'll be a total of 10 minutes.
Good evening, Board. Good evening, Madam Chair. I'm not against, but this is the only opportunity I have to ask additional questions. I'm concerned about the outside storage. It was mentioned many times, but they never specifically stated what they would be storing. Previously, it was a trailer facility, so we saw the trailers out there. But even with the buffer and the screening, I'd like clarification on what would be included in the outside storage. Thank you.
Seeing no one else, we will close that portion of the public hearing. Do we have a motion? I'm sorry, yes, go ahead.
Did you have a, or you just? Oh.
Would you come back and answer that question, please?
Actually, other than the trucks that we may have there that are there for repair and we'll be going back out to the job, we don't really have any other thing, because any of the small equipment that we have, we keep inside the building because it'll walk away if you don't. So it's really just the trucks.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to do a motion to, I want to table this. I do have some further concerns on this, and I would like to take for staff and to take a further look at.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'd like to table this.
Second.
How long can I? 30 days?
I mean, I guess, would you like to consider it the next meeting, or would that be reasonable?
Yeah, I would like to go for 30.
Okay.
If we can.
Go ahead, Ayana.
I'm sorry, I missed the number of days for the.
Suggesting 30 days.
Okay, all in favor?
Yeah, we could do a motion for discussion. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yes, we could go ahead and ask questions. I'm sorry.
Okay. Do we have more questions? Commissioner Long.
Thank you. Sorry, wasn't trying to confuse things. You know, my concerns about this property is, yes, it was prior. It was a trailer sales lot before. I'm very familiar with this. I frequent I-20 a lot, and it was very nice and clean with these trailers out there. I have not seen anything but a bunch of junk out there since this company's been out there, and it concerns me that we're going to put restrictions on this company that didn't even have a license. I understand he said there was some confusion about not operating a business for a year now without a license, and then you have in your report to put buffers around the property. You know, we need to make sure that we have what kind of buffers he has and everything. I see more than equipment on the property. I see some kind of tractors and all kinds of plastic things out there. I don't understand what the business is, but maybe in your 30 days you can go and look at the business. But I mean, my concern is that it is very junky looking right now. It is our main corridor into our county, and it is on I-20 on the access road. And even though we can still have things that look nice, I'm not sure that the buffers. I don't know what high the fence is, if it has screening. A lot of these type buildings, we put screening around and things like that. I feel like a lot of things are not being kept in the building, so maybe we just need some more guidance on this and make sure that we get the proper restrictions on it, because I do not feel like the business is operating of what we've been presented here today, and I'm just gonna be honest about that.
Okay, we have a motion to table this for 30 days. We have a second. All in favor? Okay, thank you.
And that was my last zoning case. So.
Okay, thank you very much. That concludes the zoning. We will go back to new business. Yeah. And we'll go to item number 11. Consideration of memorandum of understanding, Newton County Fire Services and Public Safety Cadets. Establishment of a public safety cadet program to mentor and educate youth about careers in fire service. Do we have a motion on that? So moved. All in favor? Okay, that was unanimous. Thank you. I will go to item number 12. Consideration of Snapping Shoals EMC contract, gate service installation for an underground electrical distribution line and relocating electrical facilities and a security light, Newton Factory Bridge Campground. The cost would be $1,280 security light, and that would be $11.90 monthly. Do we have a motion on that? So moved. Second? All in favor? That passes. Thank you. We'll go to 13A and 13B, and that would be our county attorney, Ms. Stephanie Johnson.
Yes, so, sorry, Commissioners, at the last meeting, you approved a moratorium, 2 moratoriums, one on data centers, that's 13A, and then regarding 13A, and then also one on convenience stores that concerns 13B. So what you have before you is a resolution to revise the moratorium that passed last meeting, moving the deadline or the expiration of the moratorium from March 18th to April 8th. That gives us additional time to conduct a public hearing if we want to have an extended moratorium on those items. So we can, under the law, reasonably do one for, let's say about 60 days or so, but longer than that, we would want to have a public hearing. So this just gives us, more time to be able to have that public hearing if we want to enter into a longer moratorium.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go to item number 14. Consideration of Sunbelt Builders, Inc. contract for renovation to Fleet and Public Works. The building to accommodate the Emergency Management Agency. The cost is $750,000. Fleet. I'm sorry. We should approve those separately. So 13A was approved, so 13B. If we could go ahead and get a motion on that. Okay, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Item 14. That is the Public Works building, and that's a SPLOST project, budgeted, and no match is required. Mr. Brown, do you have anything?
Well, I just want to make one correction. This is not a SPLOST project. This is funds that was given to this project about a year ago. We went out for an RFP. We've received bids. Sunbelt was the lowest bidder, and we proceed forward with staff recommendation.
Okay, so take the SPLOST off. Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion? All in favor? Oh, excuse me. Discussion. Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So it's not SPOS funded, but we budgeted for this last year. Is that what we're saying? Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any more discussion, Commissioner Long?
It's my understanding that this project will be supervised in-house, correct? We don't have any extra layers on this one. We just have an in-house.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure.
Okay. Mr. Brown, I believe you've got the next two, is that right? 15? Do we have a motion and a second? So now we need a vote. All in favor? Thank you. Now, Mr. Brown.
Yes, I'd like to invite my team for the Cornish Creek project, if y'all can come on down. So as they come, this is the project that we have been working on for about 2.5 years now. This is the team that's been put together. It's Reeves Young, Arcadis, Brown and Caldwell. This is the presentation for the upgrade for the Cornish Creek facility, taking it from 25 million to 39.5.
Right,
Good
to
evening.
Madam Chairwoman, to Commissioners all, good evening. My name is Brian Ruggs, and I'm project manager with the Arcadis and Reeve Young team. We're here tonight to present to you the Cornish Creek Water Treatment Plant upgrades so that you can get a good look at everything that's been designed and what construction has happened and what's underway right now. So tonight we're just going to talk about the project drivers, the goals, the costs, funding, schedule, and also look at the design of the ozone facility, the membrane building, and the clear wells and high service pump station. We'll give you a snapshot of the status of the project, and then we'll end with any closing thoughts or questions that you all might have. And so the existing facility, just to cover that background, we have raw water pumping coming in from Lake Varner there, and then we have a rapid mix building that you see, there at the top left corner. And from there, all of the sedimentation settling happens with the super pulsators that are in that area. And then what you see labeled as A, B, and C are the filter galleries. We have gravity media filtration right now. And then from here, we go down to clear well storage and high service pump stations, which is just off the page here to the south of those buildings. And so what we're doing here with this project and what the drivers are is to increase the plant capacity to go from 25 million gallons per day to 39.5 million gallons a day. This is to give us capacity for future water demand that's coming up. And from there, we're improving the treatment process by adding a pre-ozone to improve the water treatment at the filters, and also oxidize taste and odor causing problems and compounds that you might experience. If any of you know, those who were withdrawing water from the Chattahoochee watershed this summer, they had some taste and odor issues that really lingered a lot longer than they're accustomed to seeing, and those persisted all the way until about December. So those utilities that did have ozone treatment, they were able to abate those taste and odor problems that they were experiencing through those warmer months. But once we got the cooler weather, then everybody else was doing okay as well. So to optimize O&M costs as well, that's another one of the project drivers, and that's adding the pre-ozone to reduce the need for as much treatment chemistry as we need, and then it'll bring down the amount of powdered activated carbon and sodium permanganate that's needed to treat water. So in talking about the future demands, the current upgrade design condition right now, we have a maximum flow of 39.5 million gallons a day. So that's what we're designing to. It'll be an average flow of 32 million gallons per day with a minimum of 12. The future upgrade design, because we are designing this particular plant to be expandable in the future. So we wanted to make certain that we had something that could scale up on the property that you already have. And so on that scaling, you'll be able to go to 55 million gallons per day as a peak with an average flow of 36.5 million gallons per day. So all of the major concrete structures that we have designed at this point are scalable up to a peak of 55. And so when we talk about costs, we know that we came before you in the past to do a couple of the packages. Each of those packages were close to $30 million, and then another that was close to $57 million. That included all of the equipment that we need for the project. It also included the construction of the ozone building, all of the yard piping, and then the 2 million gallon treatment plant, package treatment plant that is on site and operational right now. We'll talk some more about that package plant here in a minute and the purpose of having that out there. But with package 3, which we're coming to you tonight with, that's an $86 million package. That includes the membrane building, the chemical tank storage area, and then the pre-treatment basins. So funding on this project, we are receiving $80 million from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. We're also looking at some other funding sources, GFA loans, WIFIA, and also the bond market as a last resort. A third-party firm has already completed a rate analysis for this, and the plan has been communicated to the municipalities on how debt service is going to be paid for, and that plan has been implemented. And so this gives you a visual of what's on site right now and what's being built. Those things that are sort of grayed out, those are the existing buildings. And what we're doing is showing the new items with more color that we're going to build. So up here in this area, that's the ozone building, and just below that, that's where you see the rapid mix and pretreatment basins. The larger building here is the membrane filter gallery, and then to the south, beyond the existing thickener building and the gravity thickeners, we have the new high service pump station, which is here, and the new 3 million gallon clear well that'll be there on site. And this is just another view of that in plan view. We can see where we're adding some emergency power generators. That 2 million gallon package plant that we talked about is located here near the pretreatment basin, the existing rapid mix. And then you can see those other buildings that we discussed, the ozone and the pretreatment basin, the membrane building are all there, as well as the current trains A, B, and C. And just to give you a visual of the clear well and then the high service pump station, along with emergency power for that pump station as well. So major uses of ozone and water treatment, they will kill biological organisms. We can reduce micropollutants, reduce taste and odor compounds, and then that configuration that we have designed is scalable up to 55 million gallons per day. And this is just a 3D rendering of the ozone building and what it will look like. You can see the pre-ozone is here, and as we go back outside here in this area, the emergency generator along with the pre-treatment basin that's here. These are just the liquid oxygen reserves that are needed for the ozonation. And so when we did select ceramic membranes for the filter technology, and there are some advantages to having those ceramic membranes. We can improve filter run times, and that's where you get your efficiencies throughout the plant, that you can run those filters longer before you have to backwash them to keep that same efficiency. Improved efficiency and effectiveness of the filter treatment process with a reduced filter footprint, so you don't need as much space with the membranes, the ceramic membranes. So this also gave us the opportunity to set that building in a place where it is scalable up to 55 million gallons. So that design allows for that, and we can achieve target disinfection byproduct control and other turbidity goals with those filters as well. And this is just a 3D rendering of the membrane facility here. So we will remove what we labeled as Train C to install this, and then we'll have our new chemical tank farm there to support the membrane building and the rest of the plant. And here's just a graphic of the membranes. You basically have plates that are inside these cartridges, these modules, and those are stacked and lowered into concrete basins. And so the water is then pushed through these and filtered. It filters all of that water, and then that goes out to the clear well and the high service pump stations. And so the chlorination will take place, and then it'll go out to the distribution system. And so the skid that we talked about, here is a actual live picture of that being used and in place there at the Rapid Mix. We installed this early so that the operators there at the plant can get continuous training on these filters. So this is basically an ultra filtration skid that is on site. It also helps us to further demonstrate the efficacy of that technology with the water quality that we have here in Newton County and our ability to treat it to the standards that are necessary for the permitting. Here's the rendering of the clear well and the high service pump station. You can see those items here. And this is just a schedule that we have. We started phase 2 of this project in July of 2025. That's after we finished all of the preliminary design and got agreement with you as the owners on what that would look like. And then we installed the package plant and got it commissioned in November of 2025. So we're looking to complete the Clearwell and high service pump station at the end of this year. And from there, we'll go into completing the ozone building, the pretreatment basin, and then we'll get the membrane started up in 2028. The chemical farms startup will come in 29, early 29, and substantial completion for the entire project, we're looking at March of 2029. And we have a video here just to show you when we started on all of the construction. I don't know if I can see if I can make it go. Here we go. And this is just the beginning of the construction project to give you a sense of how that's been going. And this is the ozone building area, which is is where we started with the groundbreaking. Right. And here are some aerial photos of the Clearwell area, and this will be the first area that is completed. I know that we've started laying a lot of the underground piping that's in place now and started pouring concrete foundations as well. So that is the end of our presentation, and if you have any questions for me or for the team, we'll be happy to answer those.
Commissioner Long?
I know the answer to this question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway, just so it can be in the public record. Why are we spending all this money out there? What is the reason? I mean, what was it, 28, 32, and now 85 million? So what is driving us needing all this stuff?
So the driver is the water demand.
Is the water what?
Water demand. How much water you're looking to need over the next 20 to 30 years.
If we build it, they will come, right?
Well, it's a sort of. Well, that demand has been projected by the ARC for Newton County. They're looking at, how much water will you have to provide over the next 15, 20, and 30 years. And so we're looking to meet that demand.
Is this going to keep us from building another reservoir, or are we still going to have to be looking at that at some point?
Oh, that part, I'm not entirely sure, but.
So what
Mr.
we're
Brown
doing, we have so this is the beginning process of the Water System 2075 plan. So what we've done with the community, not only for Water Resources, Newton County, City of Covington, Water and Sewage Authority, all the other cities within Newton County and outside of the county, we've came together to develop a plan that's going to make sure that the citizens of Newton County has adequate water supply to 2075. So what we've done is, originally we did the 2055 plan, then a Rivian was announced. So we had to scrap that plan, came back, redid the project, identified several parcels, pretty much every parcel in the county we identified and put a tag on it to make sure that we had adequate water use for the foreseeable future. So this was the first step, along with the projects that the City of Covington is doing, the Water and Sewage Authority is doing. So all this is encapsulating every single thing that that plan has instituted, to where we need to move now versus later. Pretty much we'll reach our max capacity to where we are now soon, with the addition of the phase of Facebook and Rivian. All those things are taken in consideration as we go proceed forward into the future. One of the things we take in consideration is the time frame. You saw the time frame on a completion date. These projects takes a considerable amount of time. We started this project back in 2024. So you're looking at about 5 years from start to finish. So we're planning in the future to make sure we are ahead of the curve, not behind the curve.
Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think, thank you for that presentation, by the way. That's why we have the best tasting water in Georgia. I mean, the country. Georgia or country? In Georgia. Anyway, so I try to get us there, but to elaborate on Commissioner Long's question just a little, right? So we've got a certain capacity with Walton County at the moment, correct? Now, if I'm hearing everything correctly, if we were to take on a data center today in Newton County, some outside of the Stanton Springs, then that plan has to be reevaluated, right? I mean that's it's fluid. Am I correct when I say that? And I've talked to people at the Capitol many times, and all those representatives and senators tell me all the time, water is gold. So it's and you can tell with all the data centers and the talk of data centers in the region, it absolutely is gold. So I think it's important that we are ahead of that curve, and that we keep our future land uses up front, and what we want to do with particularly some property we own in a pooled area now. So I think it's very important that we keep an eye on all those developments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any more discussion, comments? No. Just a report. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate all y'all do. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Okay, we'll go to item 16, and I believe, Mr. Brown, that's yours too.
So what this is with the this is regarding the William Street project. We had a change of the project description. This was approved by GFA for where we have the loan through, and because we changed the project description, they are asking for a re-signature from the approval for the board for the chair to sign.
We have a motion. Second. Discussion. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Now we'll go to the public comments. This is the time to allow the public to comment on open topics. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes.
Good evening. Barbara Morgan, East Street, Covington, Georgia. I come tonight to propose that the BOC institute a moratorium on detention centers. This is not an original idea. A countywide moratorium would last only 30 days at a time without there being a protracted public process. But experience from around the country has proven that a local moratorium will slow down the secretive process for citing detention centers. That experience has also shown when such a facility is cited in one community, the feds extend their reach into surrounding communities. The feds, as we are seeing next door in Social Circle, are doing as they wish, local wishes be damned. In Social Circle, as many as 10,000 detainees will be housed in a massive warehouse not built for human occupation and just down the road from the new elementary school. Local officials fear its impact on the community's water and sewer system and other infrastructure. The city can withdraw up to 1 million gallons of water a day from the Alcovy River and regularly uses 80 to 90% of that for its current population, under 5,000, and existing industries. DHS says no problem, we'll use it at off-peak hours or truck in what we need or build wells. The city manager says there are no off-peak hours in which needed water would be available. Trucking it in would mean 167 trucks a day, 7 trucks per hour, on its roads, or drilling 30 to 60 wells. What happens to everyone who depends on wells for their water, he asks. The city is losing an expected $1 million per year from its tax rolls, and that will be impossible to replace, he says. Further, where are the projected 2,500 employees to come from without poaching from surrounding law enforcement that could include Newton County's already thin law enforcement ranks? It would behoove the BOC to move expeditiously to fend off such frightful possibilities by implementing a moratorium, even one after another.
2 more years for that. Excuse me, another year before it's finished.
Dennis Taylor, Ellington Road. Madam Chairman, these numbers come straight from U.S. Department of Agriculture. There's 87.2 million cattle in the United States. That's the lowest number since 1951, 75 years. They say it's because of drought, because of disappearing pasture land, and it's the U.S. population has more than doubled since 1951, 154 million, 346 million. So we got double amount of mouths to feed in this country and a lot less pasture land. Farmland has decreased by over 300 million acres since 1951. So if it's time we start worrying about keeping pasture land, keeping farmland in this country. Unless somebody come up with a way we can start eating concrete, asphalt, our future generations, computer servers, and such as that. And solar panels. Everybody points to the White House on food prices. It's Reagan's fault. I mean, it's Trump's fault. It's Biden's fault. The fault of food prices is my generation and the current generation. That's the reason food prices are sky high. It's supply and demand. When you take away pasture land, agricultural land, then food prices are going to be up. You can bring them a little bit with inflation. It's going to control temporary inflation. But sustainable prices on food is supply and demand. So I come up here because I care about the next generation and the next generation. These developers do not care about the next generation or about us. These million-dollar developers care about how much money they can put in their pockets. So we better start being concerned about stopping this major development, especially the bad stuff. I don't accept the fact that Highway 11 has to be developed. I do not accept that. It probably will be, but not because of me. I'm going to fight against it. Maybe it'll be developed,
Your
but the
time's
corridor
up.
will not be developed.
Thank you. Your time's up.
Good evening, Honorable Commissioners. I'm coming before you, and as my neighbor stated about the future, I would love to know about our Parks and Recreation for District 3 and what's happening. It's not Elena Sanders coming up here. There's a lot of residents that keep asking, where is the nearest park? Where is the community center? Where are the things for the community? And they're asking every day, and we have the funding there. So my question is, where is the information? You have students who have went off to college here in Newton County. Do you know they don't want to come back here? What's going to happen when we don't have a generation that's coming back to this county and we all die off? Who are our next leaders if we have nothing for them in this community, as well as looking at our economic development? We have to look at those various things. So I ask, as my neighbor also said he cares about the future, so do I, because you hear me talking about it all the time. Where is our parks? Where is the things for our youth? Because they are the future, and we need to make sure we have those things in place. Now, my eyes went up when I heard the consultants that came up and said $87 million for a project. Now, I know some things we have to hire consultants for, but there's a lot of things that we do in this county that we are consulting out, that we can hire people within the county to make sure it's in place. No offense to you, Madam Attorney, but in 2016, they voted to go to an in-house attorney to save money. Where's the in-house attorney? How are we going to save the funding for our county? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sean Flynn. I'm revisiting the original zoning docket that came up for the upholstery business. I wanted to apologize. This probably isn't the right time. I know I should have come up here earlier, but along the journey of obtaining my business license, it seems like I've stumbled all along the way and learned everything the hard way. So when you asked if anybody was in favor to come up and speak, I didn't realize that you were actually calling me up to come speak, because I was sitting in the audience with my hand up as you were asking questions. Again, I just didn't realize. So I'm learning everything the hard way, unfortunately. So again, this isn't the right time, but I wanted to speak my voice for you to reconsider the two amendments that you had. So speaking of learning things the hard way, all 5 of my direct neighbors asked should they come support me in the last meeting and this meeting. I said, well, if anybody comes to oppose, then I'll ask for that favor for you to come and support me. So all 5 of them have asked to come both meetings. And again, I learned my lesson the hard way. I should have asked them to come tonight to help support as well, because they're my direct neighbors, and I learned the hard way that I didn't ask them to come because nobody's here to oppose me neither night. I also learned the hard way on the sign. You mentioned that we had issues with the sign. I learned the hard way. I put up a sign. I didn't know that there's a sign permit. I didn't know that there was a size restriction. I had a banner made, and I had the banner made 2 foot too long. My bad. When I was approached about it, I received a phone call from the county. I took it down immediately that exact same day. I stayed in compliance. I just don't understand necessarily from a signage, the sign, if I had a sign, it would certainly be in compliance. I had the compliance ordinance, with me. Either way, that's not my question. But for customers coming out to the shop, and I apologize, I'm talking fast because I'm looking at the time, but imagine, as a customer, whether it's the chair that you're sitting in, or again, I focus on projects that take longer time. I don't like fast term projects, whereas my projects are boats. They take, 2 weeks to complete. So my compliance for even my own business license is a customer per day, which is probably even more than what I'll have. But you know, if you were matching material to, you know, the chair that you're sitting in or a boat, you know, you've got to be able to come to the shop to be able to match the components of whatever I'm trying to make for you. And from a customer experience, you know, it's not, I can't meet out in the driveway, you know, or meet in a restaurant and be like, well, let's flip through some samples. You know, it's not a business meeting, it's a customer interaction. I'm building a relationship, you know, with my customers for repeatability and for them to be able to come back and feel safe for leaving their stuff on my property that's 300 yards off the road that, you know, hardly nobody can see. But I just want to ask you to reconsider that, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening again, Board. I too would like to inquire about the West Side Youth Facility and where we're at on that, and sidewalks as well. I'm not sure if you need to work with the project manager, but if we could at least get it on the agenda. We come up here and we've said it 30 times, we've said it 50 times, and it's as if we're speaking to ourselves. So we're just asking for action again. Thanks for the moratorium for data centers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But we also need to know where we are with the UDO. And if that's going to be communicated to the residents. This watershed, they talk about peaks. And if you looked at the numbers, the peak is extreme. But if you look at the daily, you're only at about 4%, 5% on increase. What we also need to keep in mind is that they talk about water filtration and reuse of water, but a significant portion of water, sometimes 60% or more, is evaporated into the atmosphere and does not return to the local immediate water cycle. So let's be transparent, let's be clear on where we're spending all this money. Thank you.
Okay, at this time we'll close the public comments. Thank you, and we will have our comments from our commissioners. Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to be real brief. I sit on the Joint Development Authority out at Stanton Springs, and I want to give some rough numbers for 2026 in terms of pilot payments from the JDA, from the projects out there. They're going to be, and these are rough numbers, and I plan to have Jerry Silvio, who is the Newton County the other Newton County representative on that board, and the chairman, by the way, and Economic Development do a presentation, a brief presentation before the board, maybe next meeting, if we can work that in. So, but I'm gonna give you rough numbers, and don't hold me to these, but it looks like these are the numbers for this year. It's gonna be a total of 17 million pilot payments to the 4 counties, of which Newton County would receive 37.5% of the 17 million. The school system would take 58% of our percentage. The fire tax would get 2%, and the county, the BOC, would get 28% of the pilot payments made to Newton County in 2026. So again, if I've got those wrong, if I have those wrong or slightly off, you have to forgive me, but I plan on having a presentation in the next couple of meetings at least on the pilot payments from the JDA down at Stanton Springs. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to briefly discuss, we did have a resident come up and basically make a comment in regards to the Senior Enrichment Center. It is in a beautiful facility. I've had an opportunity to visit several times and see the actual work that is being done. I get a lot of text messages, phone calls, emails. Commissioner Mason, when is it going to open? When is it going to open? And so what I can tell you is that those developers have been working diligently. Of course, there were some delays. There were some issues, even with getting the gas line entered in. We want to make sure that when it is opened, that it is opened right, and that everything is state of the art, and that it is working properly. And so you don't want to quickly open something and you don't have everything in a functional, operational type of service. And so just to put it out there, we have recently had a discussion. I took a tour last week with our county staff, our county manager, sat down with our director of senior services, and basically they walked us through the entire facility, and we are looking through now to our goal, our aim is to open up, do a soft launch, either the mid part to the latter part of this month. And so as soon as we get a definite date, I'm sure staff will get me social media posts. We're going to put it out there. We'll probably send it out to everyone that we know on our email distribution list. We want to make sure that this is a huge, huge celebration. I do know that the seniors on the west side of Newton County are excited about it. They're looking forward to it. It is a great, great space. And I believe that they're truly, truly going to love it. I know when it opens, we're going to see that pickleball court probably full every single day. Our seniors love pickleball, and so it's a beautiful pickleball court, and I think they're going to truly, truly love it. And so we are in our final processes of getting that done. There were some issues that caused the delay. It wasn't that the board didn't want it to move forward or the staff didn't want it to move forward, just from a contractual or from a building perspective to get all of that done. So just want to put that out there, that we are excited and looking forward to the soft launch. So keep your eyes and ears open for that announcement of when that's going to be open. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Long.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Commissioner Mason and myself have to be in Atlanta at 7 a.m. in the morning. So I just want to answer the gentleman's question about the property, your home business. Not trying to be mean or condescending or anything, but I own a business too, and it's commercial, and it is in a commercial area. It's okay to have home businesses because we know people have them. But when you start having customers come to your house and you have signage in a residential area, you might need to find a commercial building to have your business in. If the county's going to allow you to have a home business there, I understand that. That is our rules, and we do have that. But when you start changing the dynamics and start letting people come to the business and have signage out in front of a residential house, then that becomes no longer a home business. That becomes a commercial area that you are in a residential area. I'm real big on a proponent of these signs. I am in real estate, and I run around picking up signs all the time, put them in the back of my Jeep that I drive, because those signs are not legal. I don't put signs out for directional in real estate. I know a lot of people do, but I feel like the county should be enforcing these signs. I send pictures to the people that put them out and say, please come get all your signs out of our county because they make it look like a mess. So having a business sign, to me, is a problem. So if you want to expand your business, and I understand that, and it's great that you have that business, it's well needed, you need to get a commercial building to have it in. A home business is what it is, a home business. Parks, I want to address that real quick. There's not a day that we don't go by that we don't hear you about these parks, okay? We are trying our best to do the park. We have to get land. We cannot come in here because you know, Commissioner Sanders, you were on the board, you know you can't talk about everything that you talk about in executive session. But that is a priority for us, more than the reasons that you come up here and talk about. It is a priority for us to make sure that we have these parks and the recreation, but we have to do them right. We're not going to slam them dang and do them wrong. We're going to do them right. So that's important. I want you to know that we think about it all the time because we hear you, okay? The other thing is I'm going to address the county attorney situation. I hear this, and I get so mad when I hear this. We need an in-house attorney. I'm going to tell you something right now. I love Gerard and Davis. I could just make them my best friend. We have had so many lawsuits this year, this last 14 months, and we have won so many, and I am so happy. And they have been zoning, they have been HR, they have been all kinds of things. And I would spend, you could take my commissioner money if you want to keep you here, because it is worth every dime we spend to have a firm like Gerard and Davis on our team. They are trial attorneys, they are attorneys for everything that we need, and they are saving the taxpayers' money at the end of the day. And I'm going to cheerlead for them, and anybody on this board gets mad about them, I'm going to jump on you, because you all know that are sitting here today how great of a job they have done for us and how they have saved us from all these people trying to take annexations. They tried to have zonings here that don't belong here. That is our job, is to make sure we're doing everything we can for our citizens. And yes, unfortunately, it is a sue-happy world. We get a lot of frivolous open records requests that take up a lot of money and time. You know, I would hate to see, you know, maybe if we don't have if we didn't have HR and all these other things, then we could do that. But people are gonna come after a government. And we have got to have the people that can represent Newton County the best they can. So I am not in favor of an in-house attorney ever. So I just want to let you know. Thank you, Stephanie, and you're doing a great job too. And that is the end of my soapbox this week. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you all for coming. We adjourn.